Hey, good morning, everyone. Coach Sullivan here again with MJS Coaching Football. Quick background, this is my 38th year coaching football. I've been either a defensive, offensive, or special teams coordinator, as well as a head coach at both the collegiate and high school levels. Today, what I wanted to talk to you about is our automatic 3-by-1 check when we're in our match quarters coverage. Okay? So we call our base match quarters coverage, which we play 70% of the snaps in every game. This is the automatic, meaning I don't say a word, the kids automatically check to this. Okay? So the check is steal with invert on the one receiver side. That's the two automatics. Check steal and invert. Okay, in other lectures, I'll tell you I signal before I finish with my clap. That is the 3-by-1 tag. Okay, so when I don't do that, and that tag comes after I signal the coverage, by the way. This is the automatic. So what I want to spend this lecture doing is explaining the reasons why we feel the need to go to a change in our coverage when we're playing match quarters. It's still match quarters concept, but it's a little different. And then I'll explain to you how we defend it, how we name the routes, how we teach it, the reason why we invert over here on the single receiver side, etc. And then in successive lectures down the road, we will teach you how this works versus, as an example, Florida number 3 post. Okay, so there's a little tease, as they say in advertising. So first of all, why do we feel the need to check? Remember, in our vernacular, check equals change. So why are we changing from our match quarters base to this, specifically when it's a 3-by-1 set? Well, we're going to show you both versus 11 personnel formation, Texas, and then a 10 personnel formation, which I'll show you now, Toledo. Okay, this is for both. We're going to start off in Texas, okay? First of all, the check, steal, and invert. The check steal is to the 3 receiver side. Invert is to the single receiver side, of which it's a split end, okay? The steal, why do we name it steal? We're going to be able to play potentially 3 verticals by the 3 receivers with only 2 defenders. In other words, we're going to steal a vertical. We're going to have one less than our usual +1. And why and how, well, we'll teach you that here in this lesson. Okay? So, first of all, this is if the offense comes out in this formation or if they motion across to this formation. And if they end up in this formation, we check, steal, invert. Boom, done. Okay? So by having one additional receiver to the side, that messes with your match quarter rules a little bit. It messes with it enough to make us do this. Check. Okay, so first of all, let me talk about how we play the 3 verticals. Okay, okie doke. So as you see here in the field corner, 2-to-1 vertical. And by the way, we teach both corners to do this because it could be, if this number 2 were over here in Dallas and then motions, this would be the boundary corner. So we teach it to both, as well as the 2 safeties. So everybody learns how to do it, okay? On the snap of the ball, we're still reading surface, okay? And the field corner and the outside linebacker are still reading number 2, okay? They read 2. The Mike, in this case, or the inside linebacker, and the safety actually read 3, the additional receiver. So when we get to them, they read 3. So reading surface, again, let's just assume in every situation here, surface is showing pass, the offensive line or pass protecting. The corner works right now to get over the top of number 2, because if 2 and 1 are both vertical, the corner is going to be over number 2, reading the quarterback. And the steal part of it is we want to force the quarterback to make the harder throw across the face of the corner to number one. Now, trust me, if we're facing a quarterback that can do that easily, we have a tag to take care of it. It's called Pittsburgh. Okay, we're not going to run check steal. So this is dependent upon the quarterback's arm strength and ability. So assuming that the quarterback would struggle with this throw, this is another reason why we'd be in steal, and or the tendencies tell us they're most likely to run the football. Okay? So he's working over two. The outside linebacker, when it says jam, that's just a pipe dream, whether you're going to get hands on. We want you to delay the stem of number two as long as possible to buy time for the corner. And we're not talking, 2, 3, 4 seconds. If between a half second and a second, you delay the vertical of number two, that's all it takes. Then, consistent with our match quarters, the dime expands out now to the flat. The difference is it doesn't matter what number one does. The dime expands out to the flat, and this is a bit of a spot drop. So he's then head on a swivel looking for any of these receivers to show in the flat. Okay? And if anything in the flat becomes a wheel, he carries the wheel. That's what that means. And the alignment now, he's 5 yards directly over two. So if two's 2 yards back, the outside linebacker is probably nipping the heels of the DN. So that's what that's all about. Okay, so that takes care of our corner and outside linebacker. The outside linebacker, what we say, over three. Okay, the outside linebacker over three. Same thing. The jam, if you can delay and disrupt the vertical release of number three, perfect. In this case with the tight end, that's easy to do. Shooting the hands, knocking back, here's pass, hips turn, everything I've said consistently is still the same. Now, after that, he is widening out, looking at number two to number one of them to show up in any fashion, meaning route, in the curl area. As he's expanding. So outside linebackers, plural, work to the sideline. Okay, they work to the sideline. As he's expanding, if two's coming hard shallow, he's going to try and wall and disrupt them as much as possible. Same with one. But the outside linebacker over two is expanding, not to the sidelines, but to the numbers, below the numbers. The outside linebacker over three keeps expanding, typically in between the numbers and hash. Okay? Now, the safety, I mentioned before, the inside linebacker and the safety actually reading three. Well, that's the extra receiver. And this is because, from the safety standpoint, he's got three vertical. So as he's zit stepping and the surface tells him pass, eyes to three first. And this is huge. If three does anything, he stays in and blocks. He releases hard across the formation. He releases out under 10, right? Anything but running the vertical. Safety just says stick, 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 which says to the corner, stay with number one. Stick, 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 stay with one. I got two. So if three's not vertical, it's back two, right? Here's the extra receiver. Why we got to make this check? Safety will take two vertical, corner takes one, with just simply saying stick, 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 stick. If he doesn't say stick, corner's assuming he's got two and one. As the safety doesn't say stick, that means three's vertical and he's got him. Okay, so one word says it all, stick. All right? And that's a DB thing. It's not the same as the stick call that we make by assignment for the long stick in our defensive. That's not the same at all. Okay? So does everybody understand what that is? I'll talk about the fine work when we get near the end. Now the inside linebacker on the pivot, it's the same technique, except now it's not looking at two, it's looking at the nearest threat, number three. Okay, so boom, steps with his outside foot, shows Pats, pivots to three. 3 to me, he takes him. If 3 is doing anything else, then his eyes go to number 2. If 2's coming in, he takes him. So the only difference for the inside linebacker is one extra guy to go through. 3 first, 2 second. So if 3's to me, he takes him, boom, done. Doesn't matter what 2 does. Okay? Doesn't matter. So that's the 3 receiver side. And before I go to the 1 receiver side, the find work, if there are no verticals, then our corner and safeties are not going to get depth. They're going to read the routes that are being run in front of them. Like it could be California slant slide, it could be Hawaii hitches, right? But there's no vertical. Then they're going to read and react to the quarterback's indicator. That's what's meant by find work. Okay? On the 1 receiver side, the automatic invert. On the snap of the football, the safety screws down to linebacker depth. Okay? So we'll run this check again if it's a running situation. Right now, we'll forget about the quarterback's arm strength for a minute. If they have a tendency to want to run the football to the single receiver side or run inside zone, outside, whatever it might be, 1 back power, we'll screw down to bring the 7th man into the box here, and that's the safety. From a pass coverage standpoint, this is built in. Outside press shade. Now we do have match quarters where our corners both come up in outside press shade, reading number 2, directing hard funnel to the inside. So this isn't something that we haven't shown before. On the snap, he bails, but it's a tempo bail. So if the receiver's not running hard, he's not bailing out of there, creating all kinds of space. Okay? The corner is responsible for any vertical of number 1, so 10 yards or more. The safety screwing down on pass, his eyes immediately go to number 1. So he'll take 1 on a slant. He'll take 1 on a crosser. He'll take 1 on a hitch. He'll even undercut an out from number 1. Okay, so our corner knows he doesn't have to plant and drive and press hard at any short routes. He has help from the safety. Okay, and it's still sky support. So if this were, let's say, a speed option, safety's going to take the pitch back, and we have our inside linebackers, plural, to play the quarterback. Okay, so that's the automatic for 3-by-1. If it were a 10 formation Toledo, it's no different, but what I want to show you here is this is why we refer to it as outside linebacker over 2, outside linebacker over 3. 2 is the flat, 3 is the curl. Okay? And then again, nothing else changes for anybody else. So in future lectures, I will now then show you, again, how we use the same, say, California 3-corner or Hawaii 3-hitch, right? All the different things that we've learned. Dakota 3-slide. So double slants with a slide behind it. All the different combinations and how we defend it here out of check steel invert. As always, please, any questions, feel free to email me at coachmjsullivan@gmail.com, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Have a great day.